Thank you so much. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Yountville 2024 General Election Forum, produced in partnership by the Yountville Chamber of Commerce, the Yountville Sun, and the Town of Yountville. I'm Richard Hall, the former Vice Mayor of Yountville, Treasurer for the Yountville Chamber Board of Directors, and a Napa County resident. I will be your host and moderator this evening. We thank you for joining us for this special event. This event is being recorded and will be posted on the Yountville Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel. I'm looking for likes. And it'll also air on Channel 28 every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. starting October 13th through November the 3rd. Thank you especially to Partners to Media for filming the forum. The goal this evening is to give the Yountville Town Council candidates the opportunity to share their views on issues pertinent to Yountville. The Yountville Chamber of Commerce does not endorse candidates. The Chamber's goal is simply to educate Yountville voters about the issues and each candidate. Tonight, we are proud to share every candidate running this election is here with us. So we have 4 in front of you. And since I'm going to ask for this later, I'll do it now. Let's go ahead and give them all a round of applause for being up here and running in this election cycle. So as you all know, there are 2 seats that are currently housed by incumbents on the stage with us tonight, and 2 that are running for their seats as well. So 4 candidates for 2 seats. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about the format for the program and for the event this evening. This forum is going to consist of question and answers. And no, you won't have an opportunity to ask questions from your seats tonight. We've already prepared these, and so that question was asked, I've already answered. All candidates will be asked the same questions. Candidates were sent the 7 major questions or primary questions in advance of the forum, so they had the opportunity to prepare. And for those questions, they'll be given each 2 minutes for their response. Additionally, we will be asking this evening that the candidates other questions that were not given in advance, if we have time. We call this section of the forum the rapid fire answer section. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond and answer those questions. We plan to get to every question this evening, but do understand, depending on their answers and my ability to keep things in order, that may not be possible. There will be time for the audience to ask questions of the candidates, there will not be time, I already said that. But afterwards, you can mingle, and certainly they'll avail themselves, and so if you have some really burning questions, please make sure you don't forget them. We'll be rotating each candidate, so I'm going to start with Eric Knight, and then we'll go in order, and then as we get to the next question, we'll start with the next, so everyone gets an opportunity to speak first. In a moment, each of the candidates will have 3 minutes to give an introductory statement. At the end of the forum, each candidate will also have 3 minutes to do a closing statement. My primary role is really to serve as the timekeeper. I have some help in the back, but each of them will try to keep them to the specific allowed time, and we've asked them also to respect one another in that process. When a candidate has 30 seconds left, behind everyone here, we're going to let them know by letting them see a yellow flag that says you got 30 seconds, and then it's supposed to be red, but it's pink, to let them know that their time is up. And again, I will do my best to moderate that. I ask you to hold your applause, since you just got it out, until the very end. So out of the respect for the candidates, so they can continue their train of thought. It's distracting, and being up here is challenging, as you can all imagine. I would also say, before we jump in, I'd be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity to tell you a little bit about the Chamber of Commerce. The Yountville Chamber is a 501c6 nonprofit organization. It's governed by a volunteer board of directors, and it's run by a professional staff. And I think many of you know the staff. They're all here tonight. There's Whitney Diver-McAvoy, Andrea Scarpa, and we also have our newest employee, Jackie Roldan. So when you see them during the night, please thank them for their work and service for the Yountville Chamber. We'll add that applause. Our mission is enriching the vibrancy of our community, and it really is the vibrancy of the community of Yountville. We serve over 450 businesses and resident members located in Yountville, Napa Valley, and beyond. The Yountville Chamber lives at the intersection of helping business succeed and our community thrive. You can learn more about the Yountville Chamber at our website, yountvillechamber.com. Let's get to it. We'll begin with the introductory statements from each candidate. Candidates, as a reminder, you'll have 3 minutes each to make your introductory statement. We'll be timing you. When a candidate has 30 seconds left, Andrea will do her best to wave you down. When time is up, you'll see a red flag, and with 30 seconds, you'll see yellow. Please be respectful of your fellow candidates and stick to the time restrictions. We're going to start in alphabetical order, which is how they're seated. Our first speaker will be Councilmember Eric Knight. Eric, you have 3 minutes.
Well, you said you were going to mention something about Cindy. You want to do that later?
Oh, I think I'll do that at the very end. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. First, thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, the Yountville Sun, and the Town of Yountville for co-sponsoring the Candidates Forum. Thank you to all of you for attending tonight. It's an honor to be here with the 3 other candidates. We all share a deep concern for Yountville's future. Hello, I'm Eric Knight. I currently serve on the Yountville Town Council and seek re-election this November. Vice Mayor Tripp, Council Members McKee Cant and Reeves, former council members Judith Caldwell and Vice Mayor Marita Dorenbecker support my re-election. I also greatly appreciate the support of many other residents and my family. My wife Peggy and I moved to Yountville after the 1989 earthquake to raise a family. I rejoined my family's Yountville hardware store, lumberyard, and fence contracting business that once was an egg ranch on the Yountville Crossroads in the late 1940s. I served in the early 90s on the Zoning and Design Review Board for 5 years, and then was elected to the Town Council for 2 terms from 1997 to 2005. I returned to the council in 2020 and served as vice mayor in 2023. I'm also proud of my involvement with local groups in town, including Yountville Kiwanis, Focus, and the Veterans Home Association. I currently work for the Napa Home Depot as a project install specialist. For 35 years, I've interacted with residents and the town government as a local business person, home builder, community volunteer, and elected representative. Owning a business in town and serving on the town council has taught me the importance of listening and collaborating. I've experienced local government's impacts on business, building homes, and resident life from both sides of the table. I believe it's essential to try to step into someone's shoes and look at the world through their eyes. We achieve more when we understand each other's perspectives. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts tonight.
Thank you, Eric. Next up will be Mr. Robert Moore.
My name is Robert Moore, a veteran at the Veterans Home. I moved here not to be a burden to my family as I've gotten older. I'm healthy, financially secure, and I have grown to love the home. I also have grown to affectionately call Yountville my home. I have served as an Allied Council chairman in Yountville's Veterans Home. I have written and narrated a film entitled Pearl of the Valley Video, which can be viewed on YouTube. If you go to Pearl of the Valley /Yountville, it's an hour-long history of both the home, and it also includes the town of Yountville. I have started a 501c3 nonprofit to bring awareness to our veterans cemetery that needs major work. I have a Facebook page and a following of 1,400 people on Facebook. I believe I'm the newbie sitting here on the council. The 3 others have lived here for more than 35 years. I've only lived here 8 years, and I bring a new perspective to better our town with ideas the other 3 haven't discussed. Number 1, I want to open the Lincoln Theater, and I have a plan to do it, and I'll talk about a little bit of it tonight. Number 2, I want to place the 72 modular homes on the Veterans Home property for the staff that will be working in our new $400 million Veterans Care Facility. I believe it's time, number 3, to put a freeze on our new hires in the town council or the town employees. And I'll explain those later. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Robert. Now we'll go to Councilmember Pam Reeves.
Hello, my name is Pam Reeves. Many of you may already know me. I've been serving for the last 2 years as your appointed council member. I ran for mayor in 2022 and narrowly lost, but was unanimously appointed to serve the remaining 2 years of the newly vacated seat on the council. I never had ego involvement in being mayor, but I've always felt compelled to work for this community. I have a long 40-some year history with town. I was appointed to the ZDRB in the mid-'80s, serving over 5 years, 3 of which were as the chair. I ran for and won a seat on the council in 1990, and I served 4 years on that term. During those years, I was fortunate to receive mentoring from the likes of Don and Sally Schmidt and Steve Bartizano, who really epitomized for me Yountville's essence and core values. I did not seek a second term because I wanted to start a family, and I knew that of the kind of commitment that was required for this job. But I kept active in town by attending meetings, workshops, general plan updates, organizing neighbors, and yes, posting letters to the editor. I am grateful to be able to serve on this council, and I quite enjoy the job. I feel I have a lot to contribute, having been a business person in town for over 20 years, having experience with plans and policy discussions, having general knowledge of development and historical sentiments in town over these many years. I have a drive to find creative and collaborative solutions to problems, and having a resident's perspective, I am informed by the realities of all these experiences. I seek to continue my contributions to the ongoing discussions and efforts to preserve and improve on our very unique community.
Thank you, Pam. And last, we'll have Mr. Joe Tagliabashi.
Thank you, Richard. I'd like to thank the Chamber and Whitney Diver McAvoy for hosting this evening. I'd like to thank the other folks up here on the dais with me to go through this very humbling process. I want to thank everyone who's watching live and recorded versions of this session that we're going through. And I'd like to thank Channel 28 for having it at 3 p.m. so we can get it in between the evening football game and the afternoon football game, so no one has an excuse not to watch. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Joe Tagliabashi. I'm a resident of Yountville since 1991. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Navy, serving honorably from 1977 to 1981. I'm not that old yet. I was a public works director with the Town of Yountville starting on October 29th in 2014, and I retired from the Town of Yountville on July 30th, 2021. I also served as an appointed town council member in 2021. In the early 2000s, I served as a town council appointed member of the Active Transportation Advisory Committee. I have served as a president and member of Yountville Kiwanis and volunteers with other organizations. I'm currently on the board of the Cemetery Association. I earned a bachelor's, an AS degree at Napa Valley College. It took me 10 years going to school at nights and weekends. I earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Management and an MBA from Sacramento State. Very proud of that. Yountville has been I was working full-time while I did that. Yountville has been my home for more than 30 30 years. It is the town where I met and married my wife on a blind date at compadres. We also were married at the Christian church just across the street from the former Yes site. In those years, I have developed many relationships from both work and public sector, and those on the business and social side as well. All of these help me understand how to honor our rich history and past, while also realizing how important it is for planning for our future as well. I think it's important that our council provide oversight for all of our resources, and my experience and knowledge give me a unique position to ask difficult questions and hopefully provide thoughtful response and make sure our resources are used to the benefit of the majority of our residents. I humbly ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you so much, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for those introductory statements. We're going to begin with the Q&A. So the Yountville Chamber received these questions, which were submitted by the public. So if you hear your question, you can pat yourself on the back. These were questions, they were consolidated. We looked at them, we made sure we phrased them or framed them in a format that would be something that these guys could work with or from. And then we had the finalists, which we shared with them before today. So they've had a chance to prepare a bit. We hope to get to all 7 tonight, so if you'll bear with us, we'll get through them and we'll get on to our rapid fire questions right after that. Candidates are each going to have 2 minutes. So I know Andrea's got her stopwatch going back there. If everyone's ready, we'll begin. We're going to start with you, Robert. So 2 minutes. Council dynamics.
I'm excited, believe it or not.
Yeah, good. Well,
Let me
here's the
look at
question. Here's the question for
The Lincoln
for you.
Theater.
Yeah. Oh, let me start with the question.
Okay.
And then you can answer however you choose.
All right.
Given that the council needs consensus, or at least a majority, what role would you play in this process?
I can answer. I'm excited. The Lincoln Theater is open for business. In the past few months, business organizations have held day-long meetings in our beautiful theater. A lot of people don't realize that, but that's true. In the past few weeks, I have opened discussions with convention marketing groups within a radius of 60 miles from Yountville. One in San Jose, one in San Francisco, one in Marin, and 2 in Sacramento. All marketing groups have full-time dedicated employees filling their town's convention needs. Many businesses that are seeking conventions specifically have dates to hold their conventions and will sometimes find that the dates are already taken. I have asked the 5 marketing groups to consider Yountville as an alternative location. Think about that. The 5 marketing groups have a staff and experience that we will utilize until we can build our own staff. Each evening during the convention, entertainment will be available for all who wish to attend. Residents, Napa, Calistoga, St. Helena, and Yountville. The Veterans Home, veterans will be there. And visiting tourists that have spent the day will be there. All conventions will be staying in the Yountville hotels and will average 3 to 4 nights in their stays. Yountville's TOT tax will increase along with the sales tax once we open. This additional revenue will offset the current decline in wine tasting tourist revenue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Pam Reeves.
Getting back to council dynamics, I've already played a role in developing a good working relationship with the council. We all recognize the strengths of each other and know that we come from a desire to represent and protect resident, veteran, and business interests in town. I ran for mayor on opening up the process. That remains a priority for me. I value collaboration, dialogue, and discussion, and inviting many voices to participate. This is a high-functioning council, and I have played my role by being thoughtful, prepared, collaborative, and open-minded. We have been very successful. Our work products are as follows. We have hired a productive and dedicated town manager. We've been establishing strategic goals through consensus, creating a council handbook to ensure a smooth and clear meeting process for council and public, engaging in extensive and creative budget discussions that have both streamlined and deepened the process and outcomes. We've been planning and clarifying policies concerning emergency and contingency funds, purchasing the Yes site and making investments in interim resident-centric uses, and we're starting the movement into resiliency and sustainability planning. Our common goal has been to come to decisions that reflect community values, desires, and needs. We have built consensus to arrive at these important decisions, and we have been successful at building a respectful and collaborative council that values good decisions over petty differences.
Thank you so much. Joe?
Thank you very much. I think that it's important, for those of you who know me, I would answer the phone both as a public works director and as a council member with how can I help? I think that's the basis that I generally start from. I think it's important for me to ask more questions. I think you get better outcomes asking more questions. I think my experience helps with that. I don't think it's required to have a majority vote. I don't think that's the important part of this question. I think the important part of this question is getting a vote that gets good outcomes, getting a decision that comes to better outcomes. Past councils didn't always agree in unanimity, and we've had some very successful councils in the past. I think you can disagree without being disagreeable. I appreciate that everyone up here loves Yountville and wants to see the best of Yountville, and I think we have some differences on how we go about that and the priorities for doing that. The key items for me in helping get a consensus, or at least a majority, do my homework, ask questions that help provoke discussion, to bring up the subjects such as our past history, past budgets, things that worked and didn't work in my own experience. I want to stand by my values. I want to be ethical and moral. I want to do right by the majority of the town residents instead of a small minority. I think we need to do what's legal, ethical, and moral. I'm not going to take votes personally. And I remember that everyone on the council is working to get their idea of the best outcome. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we all need to appreciate. And we need to understand that we won't always agree, but we're all trying to get the best outcome.
Thank you, Joe. And we'll conclude council dynamic topic with Eric Knight.
Thank you. As your council member, I encourage dialogue and I seek consensus. I respect my fellow council members and their positions. I appreciate and encourage different perspectives. I do my homework, and I also offer my perspectives because of my time in Yountville as a business owner and being here in this community for a number of years. We have a very balanced council, and I believe this council has developed a very collegial relationship. I proudly serve with a respectful council that constantly strives to listen and learn so that the council decisions align with our shared community values. With the help of our new town manager, the council revised our meeting protocols and developed a very clear process for establishing and voting on a motion. That process has made decision-making and consensus building easier for the council and the community to follow our discussion. Our work in the last 21 months illustrates that we are a collaborative council. I encourage you to look at my campaign literature, which lists 10 council accomplishments in the last 21 months, and it's because of the hard work of a very experienced and resourceful town staff. Lastly, I strongly encourage the town council in 2023 to support a new rotating vice mayor appointment policy. I resigned my 2-year appointment at the end of 2023, so council member Tripp would serve as vice mayor this year. This policy allows every council member to serve in that position and reduces the disharmony at the beginning of the term. We work together because of respect, and I hope to continue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This next question will begin with Pam Reeves, and the topic that we're going to discuss is the economy. Given that tourism-based business generates approximately 70% of the town's budget, what should the town do to support the business community's continued success? Pam Reeves.
This council brings a qualitative difference to interaction with business. We want the emphasis on support and more flexibility. That means cooperation and the carrot rather than the stick. If a business is sincerely working with the town, we are committed to facilitating good outcomes. We want our community to thrive. I personally and the staff have a good relationship with the CEO of the chamber and feel that her input is invaluable in creating a sustainable direction for our businesses. That said, we should be even more intentional about engaging businesses more in our community life. We want them to feel fully engaged and involved in and part of Yountville. They do provide a lot of revenue, but we provide the pride of place and the beautiful canvas to design their businesses on. We are invested in beautification and maintenance at a very high level in this town. We really make a good impression for our visitors. We support activities for residents that visitors can also take advantage of. In the planning of the Yountville Commons, we invite businesses to participate and talk about employee housing and other ideas that enhance their ability to be successful. I'm excited about the Visit Napa Valley pilot program to promote green business practices. I think this is an avenue that our small business community could collaborate and elaborate on. The town is ramping up Yountville Green to support sustainability initiatives, and I would love to work with our businesses to be at the forefront of promoting and providing an ecotourism experience. Napa Valley Lodge is part of the pilot, and I applaud their forward thinking and commitment to the environment.
Thank you so much, Pam. Joe Tagliabashi.
Thank you. I think that it's important to work with the owners to understand and encourage business growth. It's the owners who generate the business here in town, who help us grow and manage our budgets and help the residents enjoy some of the benefits of that growth in the budget. I think we need to enforce the municipal code fairly, timely, and consistently. I think that helps bring certainty to the business market, and I think as a business person, you want certainty. I think a well-trained planning staff who understands permit cost and code and helps make it easier for a business person to get a business license and conduct business in the town is essential. I think it's important to work from a capitalist point of view. In other words, let the person who is putting their money on the line and time on the bottom line decide what business they feel will thrive in Yountville. As long as our laws and codes allow it, we should encourage businesses to start in Yountville and help them be successful.
Thank you, Joe. We'll move down to this end of the table. Eric Knight.
The town contracts with the Chamber of Commerce for essential, promotional, and some town events. The general fund revenues that the town invests with the chamber contributes to visitor trips and our local business successes, which benefits residents through these increasing TOT and sales tax collection. The chamber, led by Whitney Diver McAvoy and many resident volunteers, provides an invaluable service to our community and businesses. The town manager serves on the chamber board. I strongly support chamber funding. I worked with the chamber when I first moved back to Yountville in '89. At that time, it was a smaller chamber led by Chuck Foster with a chamber office in the community hall. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the town proactively worked with the chamber to review business use permits to support outside seating and other events, including pop-ups, to encourage visitors and resident support. The town has also added user-friendly software to its website, allowing businesses in town to file reports and applications more easily online. I encourage more dialogue between the town and businesses. The town is a community-supported general plan that establishes a vision and flexible goals for public policy and land use planning. The town is ready to help local businesses succeed. Last week, we approved Hope and Grace's move to North Yountville. Our council is active and interested in helping every business in this community succeed, and we also look to find ways to support and activate more local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. And we'll conclude this topic with Robert Moore.
When the town of Yountville hires an employee, the town is making a lifetime promise to the employee, an income for the rest of his or her life. I'd like to share some basic facts, if I may, to ponder over. In California, for every square mile, the state has 1.3 workers. In San Francisco, for every square mile, the city has 10.14 city workers. And in Yountville, for every square mile, we have 33 town workers. We do not even have a fire or police force. We contract with Napa County and CAL FIRE. Let me share some additional facts, if I may, to uncover by reviewing the budget. $3.8 million was paid to 31 employees in 2022, with an average employee earning $122,000 per year. Now, assuming this retirement happens at age 60, receiving a retirement of 70% of their income, and they live 20 years to live 80, to live to be 80, the employee earns $1,780,000 in retirement income owed to them by the town of Yountville. The town's total obligation in this example would be $1,780,000 times 33 employees. That total would be $58 million. We're currently setting aside a reserve, approximately 30% of what we should be setting aside, and it should be closer to 70%. 30%, we should be putting it 70% for the long-term obligation. What's the solution? An immediate hiring freeze needs to be implemented. Going forward, all new hires will not be part of PERS, but will be given a 401k package including health insurance coverage.
And that's the conclusion of your time. Thank you so much, Mr. Moore. We'll move on to the next topic of housing. This question will start with you, Joe Tagliabashi. What specific action do you think the Yountville Town Council should take to encourage development of affordable and employee workforce housing in Yountville?
Thank you, Richard. For the record, I'm not making anywhere close to 70% of my salary, but that would be nice. I think we need to have a community that welcomes and encourages folks who can live and work here. Use our resources wisely and partner with affordable housing developers. I think the path we're on right now, I've been in quite a few agencies, and this is not a path that I have seen where the council is kind of acting as a developer. I think we can do it a little more efficiently and effectively with a better model, and that model includes having a third-party consultant to help us make decisions and kind of get some ideas together. I think the town should not be in the developer business. It's too small for that type of work. I think with a third-party consultant who we don't have right now, we can hopefully get engaged residents and engage the community, gather some ideas that we can all agree on. I think a community survey would help with that to figure out what exactly the community wants if we're trying to get some engagement. I think we need to continue working on other housing sites, including the church and veterans home. I agree with Mr. Moore that it would be nice to put 70 modular homes up on that side. It's a big campus. It would be great if we could do that. I think if we had not spent all of our affordable housing money on purchasing the Yount site, we could have used it to buy affordable housing or buy down the cost of some of the housing on the Yes site. So my plan would be to try to do all of the above, get a developer to help us work on a plan, use the ZDRB and the council, as we always do, to get a better plan and put something on the table that the residents and people could afford to buy here in town and that people would enjoy living in and walking through as a resident. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We'll come back down here. Eric Knight.
Thank you, Richard. The California Department of Housing and Community Development recently approved our new housing element. That approval guides the town's efforts to meet our housing goals for Napa County and Yountville. The town is committed to providing workforce housing. We currently have about 100 affordable rentals and deed-restricted homes in Yountville. We should continue partnering with the Napa County and other Napa Valley cities to provide opportunities for unique home ownership, long-term rentals, and other housing programs, including promoting accessory dwelling units, ADUs, that can serve as affordable and senior housing. Yountville has a few opportunities to create affordable housing with differing challenges. For years, we have zoned affordable housing on the Catholic Church property lot, but the church has to come to the table to work with the town or an affordable housing builder. Hopefully, with the upcoming completion of the new Virginia May Days skilled nursing facility out on the Veterans Home campus, the state will recognize the importance of providing housing for nurses and other healthcare staff on the campus. We should support those efforts. I am most hopeful that the town can provide affordable housing for people who work in Yountville on the Yountville Commons site. The town purchased the school site to involve residents in the vision, design, and planning of a central and unique parcel in town. I encourage you to get involved in the process. We do have a third-party group there, Kelly and Morgan architects, that are helping us vision and plan for that property. They have a lot of experience in the Napa Valley, and I encourage you to go to the town website and meet with them and share your vision for the property. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Robert Moore.
The regional housing mandate for Yountville is in effect. It started in 2023 and it runs to 2031. And it will require 72 units, of which 30 units must be affordable housing for low-income households. With that said, the state has just built a $400 million senior nursing facility on the Veterans Home property. The glaring reality now is finding qualified medical staff to man the 24/7 facility. The staff hires must be licensed and highly trained, and this only adds difficulty to finding qualified staff locally. Newly employed staff will be commuting 30 to 60 miles to work and another 30 to 60 miles to go home. The solution is to build a modular housing on the Veterans Home property. This is not a wish, it's a necessity that must be undertaken. The task for the legislation is to find the funds, not Calvet, but the legislature. The fund must be approved before Calvet even gets involved. Without legislative funding, the building these modular homes will not be done. I plan to present this proposal to the Assembly and Senate Veterans Committee in Sacramento as a business request, as a beginning request for the legislative involvement in providing the important funding. The benefit to the town of Yountville, having the 72 units built on the Veterans Home property, rather than downtown Yountville, will preserve the rural, small town scale of Yountville. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And we'll conclude this topic with Pam Reeves.
The Yountville Common site is so important. The town can drive a portion of that development to be housing that is affordable by design, for rent units that will create more stock at prices more in line with median income, meaning more affordable. No private developer will do that for us. The proof is in every development ever built in Yountville. They give the bare minimum in affordable units. They are not interested or set up to partner in a project that does not provide them with their normal expected return. Yountville needs to drive this development. We have approached 2 church properties in town. They have shown some interest, but not much action. They're privately owned, so we can't force them to participate. We have educated them with the new rules and allowances for affordable housing on church properties. We're keeping them in the loop and offering connections to affordable housing developers. Currently, about 10% of our housing stock is deed-restricted affordable units, but we do need more. We have updated our additional dwelling unit ordinances and rules that reflect California laws and encourage more building of ADUs. But more work on ADUs is in the works. We need incentive programs to get more units built that would actually be adding affordable housing rather than just guest houses as extra bedrooms for the main home. We continue to look at as many avenues as make sense for Yountville. The current council is very invested in this.
Thank you, Pam. Moving on to the topic, pardon me, of the town budget. This question will start with Eric Knight. And here's the question. Are there any areas in the town's budget that you would like to propose increased spending or decreased spending, and why? How do you prioritize the budget choices for continued long-term sustainability in OPEB, which is the retirement plan for town employees, infrastructure, reserves, parks and rec, and sound fiscal management? How will you ensure town priorities are planned? Eric.
Thank you, Richard. About 75% of the town's general fund expenditures are in 4 departments: Public Works, 24%, Public Safety, 22%, Parks and Rec, 17%, and the Planning and Building, 10%. The town's commitment to funding those departments' projects and programs and having hardworking and dedicated staff plan and execute those projects improve our quality of life, preserve our small town charm, and create a healthy, beautiful, and welcoming community for residents and visitors. The town council should assess spending based on the impact on residents' quality of life and our neighborhoods. We must also invest to promote a robust and sustainable economy. I am committed to continuing to make sensible financial decisions to maintain our exceptional services and preserve our strong finances, especially as we plan and design our new community investment, Yountville Commons. I believe this town council has made wise investments. The town was fortunate to hire Steve Rogers 17 years ago. Steve helped town councils plan for long-term economic stability and sustainability by creating operating and capital reserve funds for economic downturns and for saving for employee retirement benefits. Insolvency has threatened many cities because they did not save for employee retirement obligations. Last year, this council changed our budget approval process from an annual to a biennial 2-year budget. A 2-year budget process will allow for more strategic and resiliency investment planning and time to discuss these programs with the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. We'll move on to Robert Moore.
Financial planning is designed to be looking forward to the decisions that we're faced with each day. In the case of the town of Yountville, there are some basic truths that will guide us in our decision-making every day. Truth number one, we need to protect our occupancy levels and our hotels in Yountville. Our TOT tax is the lifeblood to this town's survival. Right now, the hotels are running at 50% occupancy. They should be running at 80%. Truth number two, the town must diversify the town's business footprint. We are a town of wine-tasting small businesses. We're all aware of the decline in wine consumption. Last year alone, the decline in sales was over 15%. And today, many growers are discounting their crop sales by as much as 40%. Young adults between 21 and 39 are not drinking wine as their first choice. Many prefer beer or no alcohol at all. Now, these truths are why getting back to the convention center is so important. This town is in an ideal location for conventions. Let's look ahead 10 years from now and say, what a job we did. That's positive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. Pam Reeves.
I'm satisfied with the budget choices that this council has made. There is a beauty in our new biannual budget. It allows focus on strategic planning one year and creating the 2-year budget the next. Strategic planning generates policies that the budget supports. The council acts as the voice of the community, expressing priorities and preferences, and planning and budgeting. But our driving mandate is the balanced budget. We're working on a new budget organization, separating out ongoing costs from new projects. Things like public facilities, maintenance, salaries and benefits, regular departmental operations, reserve targets are considered as necessary and usual expenses. We review these changes, but they really are not optional expenses. We can modify budgets and we can change policies, but ordinarily we have costs of doing business as a town. For new projects, we have a 5-year capital improvement projects list, which is a more flexible set of ideas for projects that are evaluated according to need, community support and demand, cost estimates, grant opportunities, and their assigned position on the schedule or list. The more flexible programs can be worked with or shifted or even dropped for other projects to supersede them. This allows for flexible budget adjustment without drama. As far as new budgeting ideas, we have asked for a report on ongoing retirement benefits to make sure we're in the correct spot for a town our size and income. This is not a threat to current workforce, but an evaluation of what is a sustainable town for the future. It's our job to evaluate all this information about costs and craft a budget that can be balanced into the future.
Thank you so much, Pam. And we'll conclude this topic with Joe Tagliaboschi.
Thank you, Richard. I think this is a good question, and I think, number one, I'm a fiscal conservative. I think we need to do smart spending, and I think we overpaid for the school property by multiples of 10, a few million at least by conservative estimates. If you look at what the town of Calistoga paid for the 75-acre fair property, around $1.6 million. The former Waldorf School property out in the south end of Napa, just a little under $2 million for around 10 acres. There's a piece of property in Napa that held Napa County housing and some other county buildings. That's a little over 7 acres, and that was $1.2 million. So if you start looking at what they paid and you ask yourself, well, why did we pay so much? Well, we didn't have an appraisal. We used the appraisal from the school district. Past councils had tried to set up an appraisal with a development agreement that we could offer to a developer, that we would have a density of housing, a mix of housing that would be acceptable to this council. This council chose to disregard that plan. And they spent $10.9 million on the property. They've been putting a lot of money into the upkeep and maintenance of that property because it wasn't kept up by the school district. I think that we need to think about the money we're spending and think about the group of people that that's going to benefit. We need to think more about the majority of the residents in the town and less about the benefits of a minority. I think we have to think about what's driving the budget and what our needs are and be able to maintain what we have. I think we need to provide for emergency reserves and past obligations. And I think that this council has been neglected in doing that. And I'm hoping to provide a different answer.
Thank you, Joe. And with that, we'll move on to the next topic. I'm sorry, hearing things. Robert Moore, you'll be able to respond to this first. And the question that we have is, how do you intend to ensure that the town maintains an adequate capital reserve budget without increasing the financial burden on the residents?
I'm sitting here at the table and I had answers to 7 questions. I'm sitting here at the table and I have cards for 7 questions, but I don't have cards for that one. Would you repeat the question?
Of course. How do you intend to ensure that the town maintains an adequate capital reserve budget without increasing the financial burden for residents? Number 5. That was the 5th question we had.
I made a comment earlier on one of the other questions, and this pertains to that as well. I pass on that question.
Okay, thank you. Pam Reeves.
First off, I feel like I need to offer a correction to the record of Mr. Tagliabasci's assumptions about the Yes property. We bought an asset in contrast to Calistoga buying a liability. We had our own appraisal, and it was compared to the school district's appraisal. We reached a fair deal for land in Yountville, which is not comparable to the land that was mentioned by Mr. Tagliabasci. And we have used money that was available and not cutting any other services or projects in town to improve that property, to make it an asset right now for residents. So I just wanted to clarify that and offer that. This council engaged in a financial advisor to go through the process of determining best practices and home in on the correct balances to retain in our reserve funds. We also made sure that the criteria for savings levels were derived from a consistent formula and related to a real need and benefit in each category, not just buckets of random savings. We created criteria for the use of those funds and what they would and would not be used for, and created timeframes for replenishing them. We meet and actually exceed our earmarks for general fund expenditures of 35% into our newly created reserve fund, and we are engaging a firm to develop a forecasting model for determining long-term financial stability. And if we see our financial environment changing, we can pivot and make sure that the town is solvent.
Thank you so much, Pam. Joe.
Thank you very much. As a public works director, former public works director, I'm extremely interested in capital reserve budgets. I think it's important to understand that these budgets don't come with an increase to the residents. They come from TOT and sales tax. So this question is kind of a trick question. I think we need to focus on restoring our reserve budgets. This council has emptied every bucket. Some of those buckets were dedicated for purchases of property or affordable housing. In my opinion, we could have used them differently. We had a fund balance, a regular fund balance of somewhere around 8 million. That fund balance is now down to around $330,000 for the upcoming fiscal year. Unallocated budget is not available now that we had in the past, a tool that prior councils have, nor will it be available for the foreseeable future. I think that when they eliminated a couple of different buckets and put it into one bucket for emergency purposes, that just makes it easier for this council and other councils to spend that bucket of money. They weren't just random buckets of money. They were created for distinct reasons, for distinct purposes that would trigger the use of that fund in that bucket. We no longer have those stops on our council or the next council that's coming up. And I think that that's problematic for me, just as a person who looks at spending and how easy it is or hard it is to spend money. So I think we need to put our reserves back in balance and establish those buckets again and get back on a smart spending plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And Eric Knight.
As I mentioned earlier, Steve Rogers and thoughtful town councils emphasize the importance of setting aside unencumbered transient occupancy tax in reserve funds. Fortunately, a robust TOT and sales tax supports most of our operating costs and infrastructure investments. In 2023, the town discussed our reserve funds. We all value the importance of saving for rainy days and debt obligations. Still, we also recognize that even though the COVID-19 pandemic caused one of the darkest economic downturns since the Depression, the town budgeted wisely, and we never had to tap our reserve funds. In the last 2 years, the town council wisely updated our operating and capital reserve funds so we can invest in a resilient and sustainable future. This will ensure that when the next disaster occurs, the town's infrastructure and residents will be more prepared to respond and cope with the impacts. That's investing in reserve funds instead of those funds just sitting in a fund. We are in the second year of a 5-year water and wastewater resident rate fee structure. We need to focus our opportunities to increase that water and wastewater capital improvement reserve fund so we can invest in efficient and water and wastewater enterprise infrastructure upgrades so that we can limit the impact on our residents' water and sewer bills in the next rate review in 2027. I also want to encourage you to challenge the assumptions you heard about the Yountville Commons property. The money in Measure S fund, workforce housing, was purchased to help buy that property for workforce housing. It was a good investment. Check the assumptions and check with the town. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. The next topic that we'll be talking about, or the next question, is going to start with Pam Reeves, and the topic is community engagement. The question is, how would you engage more residents in the long-term planning for Yountville projects, such as the Yountville Commons or the school site that we know as the former Yes? Pam, you're first.
We're building momentum in our process with the Yountville Commons. We started off with a celebration and opportunity to look at the site as a community and voice ideas and preferences. We had a council workshop to detail a schedule for engagement, and staff published meeting opportunities on social media and in the Sun. The input opportunities are designed to offer a varied experience for our residents. We have one-on-one meetings or Million Cups of Coffee with the designers. We have meetings with our 3 volunteer boards in town, and we have council workshops. Then there are meetings for businesses and community groups with the designers. Open workshops at the Commons Hall for community exploration and tabletop exercises to jumpstart big ideas. In my estimation, this is a broad and inclusive set of opportunities as I've seen in this town. Improvement is needed to make the webpage easier for users. That's always a problem. And I have also asked for a construction board for the front of the site to show all scheduled events, the webpage, list of interim uses, and any timely notices about the property. In general, there is a robust effort to communicate through social media, as well as town-produced newsletter updates like the Yountville Connection. We've also worked on more social engagement opportunities to enhance community and broaden participation. Examples this year were Yountville Night Out, First Wednesday barbecues, and Meet Your Neighbor preparedness workshops. There is not just one way to engage our community. We have been proactive in providing more ways to join in town life and a myriad of ways to participate in the Yountville Commons process.
Thank you, Pam. On to Joe.
Thank you. I think that, like Ms. Reeves, I agree that we need to use all the above methods. I think social media, e-coms, message boards, strategic sign placement like we do for music at the park, you know, at the entrance to the park and here at Community Center, Community Hall. Signboards, even though some people don't like the electronic message boards, I think they're effective. I always say if you serve food and wine in Yountville, people show up. So if we can serve food and wine, that's probably a good start. I think we obviously need to get more community engagement. I think a survey could help. Maybe we can send out a survey to help people get engaged and understand that there's a project going on and that it's going to last many more lifetimes after the people in here are long gone. And we need to make sure we get this right. I think it's clear that from my walking around and the talks that I've been having with people door to door, that people don't feel like they've been included. And I don't think that it's all this council's fault or the folks at Town Hall. I just think it's a tough go. But I do think words like Yountville Commons, I don't remember having a discussion about that at all. People are concerned about things like the gym. So if you want to, I would say to the people who want to be involved, if you want to be involved, talk to your council person, talk to the town manager, go and visit with the gentleman, Brendan, at the coffee and the model that they have, and try to avail yourself for the time that it takes to be informed and help make an informed decision for us.
Thank you so much. Community engagement, Eric Knight.
Thank you. First, I want to note and make the case that the town's purchase of the Yountville Elementary School was a prudent investment. If the school had sold the property to a developer, and we saw those type of plans, 50 or 60 homes on a property, the town would have limited ability to influence design of this vital town parcel. As we saw in the recent approval of the Oak and Vine residential homes on Yountville Crossroads, current state laws preempted our ability to reduce the impact on our neighbors. Now the community will influence the design and planning of Yountville Commons, which is a name that we chose as a start because it is an important parcel in town. We have just begun the envisioning process. Resident input is invaluable in building community and shaping our community future. We can discuss integrating local serving uses, open space, and housing to benefit residents and Yountville workers. The town has started the process with a few community workshops at Yountville Commons site and Town Hall. Presentations to the Parks and Rec Commission Measure S Affordable Housing Committee and the Zoning Design Review Board will help inform us of Yountville's general plan vision and goals that guide the land use planning. I again urge you to get involved in the process. Meet with the local team, Brendan Kelly and Carrie Morgan, and discuss your ideas for the project. I met with them and shared with them my experience in the 1980s with Village Homes in Davis, a unique and award-winning neighborhood. I think we all benefit from seeing options. I think there are opportunities to share our ideas, and I encourage you to get involved in the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And lastly, Robert Moore.
My following comments may not win me many votes on what to do with the Yountville Commons. I sat through 2 hours in a recent Park and Rec meeting that was to bring the residents of Yountville an update on the Commons project. The town manager shared some artistic renderings from the architect who had been hired to lay out a potential design for the 6.8 acres. The meeting soon dissolved into comments from the audience. 15 minutes was spent discussing should we keep the Little League baseball diamond intact for nostalgia reasons. Second question, should we put a lap pool in the school auditorium? What we need is another park in the center of the homes that are going to be built. Or should we put the park in a perimeter so everyone can use and have access? Will we need walking paths that will connect the walking paths along the creek? These are all questions over 2 hours. A suggestion that might be considered. Let's sell the commons to a contractor for $12 million, which we bought for $11 million. And let the contractor who has skin in the game develop the property that meets our guidelines to preserve our rural, small town scale. And instead, let's devote our efforts to the 72 units that will be built on the Veterans Home grounds, not in your town neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And so the last two or longer question that we have tonight is on the topic of transparency. The first respondent will be Joe Tagliabashi. And our question is, how do you feel the town and or yourself have addressed the issue of transparency since the last election cycle?
Well, I'm not an elected official, so I'm not really, the transparency doesn't occur, it's not my.
Or the town, how has it addressed that issue?
I don't feel like transparency has been the hallmark of this council. I myself have witnessed so for all of you who don't know, there's something called the Brown Act in this state that requires an agendized meeting for 3 or more council members who are at a meeting. I myself have witnessed 3 council members at a meeting for an ADA project in Forester in the Washington Park neighborhood. 2 other people had mentioned to me that they saw 3 council members discussing the Feng Shui project. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a town hall landscaping project now, $74,000, by the way. Discussing that project before they went in to then propose it and vote on it. So I don't think we've done very well at transparency. I would expect better behavior, especially from some of the members of this council who talked ad nauseum about transparency before they were elected. I think that we have an ethical and moral obligation to be transparent beyond the legal obligation. I think that the decision and discussions that this council conducts or any council conducts should be public. That's how it's designed to work. That's how it works best. And the more people involved in a decision, the better decision you get. That's my opinion. I think the agenda timing, we used to get agendas out on Thursday or Friday. Now they're coming out on Saturday and sometimes Sunday. That doesn't help with transparency. That to me sounds like they're trying to do something a little bit shady. They're not, but it's odd and it's not, doesn't feel good. For me, I want this to be a transparent transaction and I want to be a person who upholds that at the highest traditions, not the intent, only the intent of the law, but also I just want to make sure that we're being transparent.
Thank you so much. Eric Knight.
I've served 3 terms on the Yountville Town Council. When I was first involved in town government in the 1990s, a resident had to attend meetings because the Napa Valley Register did not cover our meetings, and Sharon and Oscar had not arrived in town yet with the Yountville Sun. This current town council recognizes the importance of listening, community discussion, and transparency. We are a respectful council, and we take the guidance of our town attorney when it comes to Brown Act issues and meeting requirements. That is the fact. In 2023, the current council improved meeting protocols. We increased the public comment time so residents could express their opinions without feeling rushed. Residents can also send written comments. We also recognize that the formal council meetings structure limits a back and forth dialogue. We added open workshops to discuss the Yountville Commons purchase and our tree ordinance. Residents can now gather information about the town council, budgets, meetings, and community events from our town's website and the Yountville Connection newsletter put together by a very qualified and experienced staff that cares about this community. Please look at the back page of my campaign literature, which highlights this town council's accomplishments in the last 21 months. We now have a 2-year budget approval process to promote more strategic planning and encourage resident input. We updated our reserve funds and created a clear protocol for using those funds. We also are emphasizing community safety, resiliency, sustainability with programs like Yountville Night Out, expanding emergency planning programs, and having like picnic with the first responder. We are investing in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Robert Moore, transparency.
The seventh question reads, how do you feel the town and or yourself have addressed the issues of transparency since the last election cycle? I read this question, I read it 10 times, and I really don't have an answer that I can think of to answer this question. I will say this, I live at the Veterans Home in Yountville. I've been there 8 years, and we, as veterans, have no idea what's happening in downtown Yountville. Marge Moeller, who is a wonderful mayor, by the way, comes to our meetings once a month and gives us an update of what we are going to be doing in the town. We have never had, I shouldn't back that up, we haven't had a representative from the Veterans Home on the town council for 20 years. And that's one of the reasons I'm running, to bring awareness to the veterans who live here, what's going on in this town. And that's why I'm running. That's my answer.
Thank you, Robert. Pam Reeves.
As I mentioned before, the town has invested in better communication through media as well as relationship building with businesses and residents. This is an ongoing initiative, and practical new ways of reaching the community are always being sought. Personally, I've held office hours open to all. I've published both my town and personal email and phone numbers in an effort to encourage feedback and questions. I attend allied council meetings and town events and interact with residents on a daily basis. I'm an emergency coordinator for my neighborhood, staying connected to facilitate readiness, which keeps me in contact with a wide range of residents. Council meetings are run in a much more resident-friendly manner, allowing for more and longer public comment and discussion of specific topics. The Friday after each council meeting, the town manager provides a video highlighting discussions and decisions at council meetings. This is part of the new newsletter called Yountville Connections. The current website is relatively new and updated and is constantly being looked at to provide a better experience and to be more informative. We now have most permits available online, which saves times for applicants. The budget is available online and is updated when changes are made and reports are filed. Almost all meetings of the town committees and council are televised and archived so people can access the conversations. I think we have done a lot to make the town more available to everyone. And I think there are always ways to improve communication and provide information, and this council is united in the desire to do just that.
Okay, thank you. And thank you all for those answers. I've just gotten notice from my social media that we're going viral. So we're going to keep that up. We're going to move into our rapid fire questions. You guys know what going viral means, right? Okay. These questions were not sent to the candidates in advance. So candidates, you'll each have 1 minute to respond to each question. I will do my best to keep each of you, actually, Andrea will do her best to keep each of you at 1 minute. Let's begin. We're going to start this first one back at the top of the order here with Eric Knight, and then down in or successive order. Eric, starting with you, how would you continue to strengthen and open lines of communication with the Veterans Home?
One of my commitments in the local groups I'm involved with is the Veterans Home Association. But I think as the town, we need to continue to do is work together with residents in the town to reach out to that Veterans Home community. They're our largest neighborhood. We need to include them as best we can, and I would suggest that that as next year rolls around, get involved in picnic with a vet and attend meetings of the Allied Council meeting, and go up there, and you can get on the property site, but attend meetings and be involved through the town. And if the town can be more involved in the future, then I will support that, so we make a closer connection between the Vets Home and Yountville residents.
Thank you so much. Robert, this is in your wheelhouse.
Same question?
Same question. Open lines of communication with the Veterans
Put
Home.
a veteran on the council. How's that for an answer?
Short but sweet. Thank you so much. Pam Reeves.
I think we can work on two fronts, and we have been doing that already. The town manager is working with the CalVet and administrator of the home to sort of become more connected. And I think residents need to make personal connections with members at the home. And we have been doing that with Picnic with a Vet program to establish really personal connections. I'm also working with the volunteer coordinator to try and make us more aware of what kind of volunteer opportunities there are at the home, and to pair up our residents with those opportunities.
Thank you so much. Joe Tagliabashi.
I'm with Robert. Put 2 vets on the council.
Thank you.
But in all seriousness, I think, vets, Eric's correct. That is our biggest neighborhood. And if you think about your neighborhood or all the neighborhoods in this town, and think about how many of us venture outside of our neighborhood, some of us do and some of us don't. And I don't think the vets are much different than that. I think we need to be open in our communications with them in the same way that we offer all the residents in this town open communications to the e-coms and to our communications from the town and from Parks and Rec specifically. I think they could benefit from that. But if the vets, some of them are happy with what they have in their own neighborhood, and God bless them for that. I know I'm pretty happy in my neighborhood, and we have to respect that. But we have to keep kind of making sure that we are helping them to participate in town if they want. And that's, sometimes that's not that easy, but we have to kind of do what Mayor Moeller does, go up to the Allied Council when she's invited or when they have it. And I think that helps a lot. And we need, as a council, continue to do that kind of outreach.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to try one more of these. This should be a real short one. So listen to the question, and we'll start with Robert Moore. What is one word you would use to describe the leadership style you would bring to the town council, and why? So maybe a little bit longer than one word.
One word?
One word as to your leadership style that you bring, and why?
I'm retired. I've been retired for a long time.
Microphone, please. Thank you.
I'm retired, and I've been retired for a long time. But when I used to work, I worked 20, 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours a week. I am a hard worker. I believe in getting the job done. And I may not be answering your question. Could you repeat it?
I think you're doing fine. It's what is one word you would use to describe the leadership style you would bring to the council, and why? I think I heard hard work.
Hard work. Hard work.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, Pam Reeves, one word.
I think I would use the term open. I would suggest that I appreciate input and communication, and I feel like I am approachable in that way and hope that more people will be open with other people in town.
Thank you so much. Joe Tagliabashi.
Empowering is the word that I use for a good leadership style for me. I think it's important that we empower the people in this town and in the groups of people that we're working with to make better decisions, to help them feel more welcome, to make them feel like they're a part of the process. And when you make people feel that way, then you get better decisions and better outcomes.
Thank you, Joe. Eric Knight.
I think my one word would be I am a collaborator. I do my best to listen to different perspectives, and with that listening, there's more dialogue, more conversation, an understanding of each other's perspective. And so when you collaborate, then you are a good listener. When we do that more, we make better decisions.
Thank you so much.
Can I change my answer?
Not tonight, not tonight. You'll have a chance afterward to share a little more with the other residents in the hall. We're not going to make it to any more rapid fire. We had two more, but I think since I'm trying to follow the script that was given before me, and it's 6:52 p.m. hard, we're going to get to candidate closing statements. So thank you to our candidates running for the Yountville Town Council, and thank you to our many community members who've joined us and submitted questions tonight. So thank you all for your support in this. It's now time for closing statements. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to make their closing remarks for you all. We'll start again in alphabetical order. So Eric, somehow your last name has put you at this side of the table. We're going to begin with you. Closing statements, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you again for coming out tonight to listen, and for those that will watch this on television, thank you for spending your time with us as well. Yountville is a resilient community with caring residents and business owners. I am honored to represent you on the town council and would appreciate your support for another 4-year term. In 2020, I ran to build community and promote cooperation and collaboration. I proudly serve, as I've said, with a respectful council that constantly strives to listen and learn so that the town council decisions align with our shared values. I have 3 top-of-mind goals for the next 4 years. First, I will encourage resident participation in the design of the school property, now Yountville Commons. Your input is invaluable in shaping our community's future. Second, I will continue to make sensible financial decisions to maintain our our town services, and preserve our strong finances. And that's important when we're making investments in the community with the property like Yountville Commons. Third, I will work with the council and town staff and residents to continue building connections and promoting a welcoming and open relationship with the Veterans Home members and staff. My family has resided in Yountville for 75 years, and I have been here myself for 35 years. I'm deeply committed to our community. My contact information in the literature you have, please take a look at it and give me a call and ask me questions. I'm open to your thoughts, your ideas, and your comments. I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next up, Robert Moore, concluding statements.
I've been retired for a long time. My days are filled with bridge and golf. I'm healthy and financially secure, and I'm willing to put the time in, if elected, to the campaign issues that will benefit this town. To be an effective council member, I envision spending a lot of time in Sacramento, meeting with both senators and assemblymen. I will begin by visiting speakers to both the Senate and Assembly Veterans Committees. I will then set appointments with individual senators and assemblymen. Getting the legislative funding for the purchase of these modular homes, as an example, will require face-to-face interactions, not a letter, not a phone call. I believe, with a true understanding of the importance of these modular homes, no senator or assemblyman would oppose the funding for these 72 units. I believe that I am the only candidate who has the time or is willing to give up his time to the campaign issues that will greatly benefit the town of Yountville. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next, Councilmember Pam Reeves.
Thank you. I feel that this council has really gelled and come together to do good work. We're committed to listening to all comments, considering all points of view, and willing to review things that need a second look. I feel my contributions are positive and helpful to other council members, and I enjoy the endorsement of the other three current council members, Hillary Tripp, Robin McKee-Kent, and Eric Knight, and former council members Marita Dornbecker and Judith Caldwell. I've always brought these following positive qualities to the table. I'm not easily intimidated. I speak my mind, but listen to all sides, and I do my due diligence to understand issues. I'm an empathetic listener. I'm approachable and encourage dialogue. I'm interested in all facets of the workings of the town. I also enjoy this job. I learn something and meet new people every day. This is actually the dream job for a lifelong learner. I am up to speed on all the projects and policy decisions currently facing the town, and I will offer the continuity of an incumbent and the eager energy of a newly elected. What I hope voters are looking for is a person with an even temperament, who can interpret data, see nuance, understand input from many sources, and be able to synthesize resident needs into action that makes sense for the town. I think I represent those qualities and abilities and have proven that on this current council. I'm asking for your vote on November 5th, and I think you noticed when you sat down that there was a seed packet on your chair. Those are what I purchased for the parade that never was. And I hope that you'll be able to plant your own and have your own garden party. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. And finally, Joe Tagliabashi.
Thank you, Richard. I want to thank the members of the folks that are running for council. I think that we all love this town, as I said in my opening statement. I think we have different views on how to get there, but I think we all have the same intent. I want to thank the chamber, and I want to thank you all for sitting through this and listening to us, and I hope we helped you learn a few things about each of us that will make your decision a little bit easier. I want to thank Tim and Noel, our videographers. They're donating their time. And I want to thank Channel 28 for helping us as well. I think that I've discussed how important budgets are to me, the Yes property, protecting utility rates, and providing for emergency funds and plans in case of emergencies. In my life as a professional and as a council member, I've been collaborative and worked on finding solutions where and when possible. I promise that I will conduct myself ethically and morally and not only follow the letter of the law, but the intent of the law. I will always do my best for the residents of this town and hope to represent you for the next 4 years. I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you to all the candidates for joining us this evening. Let's get a round of applause for them. So just a few closing notes for everyone here. We had a dear friend of ours in the town of Yountville pass this last week. I hope everyone had the opportunity, and if you didn't, you certainly heard stories about Cindy Saucerman, who was mayor for this town as well as a town councilor. And in a very unique situation, she was also, at a point in time, the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. And so I know many of us are feeling her loss, and I just wanted to make sure we acknowledge that tonight. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It was a wonderful time in the council forum. I hope you guys learned something. And thanks again for all of you for allowing the Yountville Chamber of Commerce to put this on with the Yountville Sun in the town of Yountville. We hope you enjoyed it. I know you are back at home. The recording of this forum, as we said earlier, but we'll repeat for everyone, will be available on the Yountville Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel. Like I said, we're viral now. It will also be on air on Channel 28 every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. starting October 13th through November 3rd. Again, special thank you to our partners in media, namely Partners 2 Media, for filming the forum this evening. For more information about the Yountville Chamber of Commerce, please visit our website, yountvillechamber.com. Remember, the final day to register to vote is October 21st. Visit the California Secretary of State website, sos.ca.gov, to register if you're not already. And don't forget to vote. Tuesday, November 5th, my wedding anniversary. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you around town. Good night, everyone.
Go to